I just made a reaction video, but it wasn't a live reaction. This one we're going to live react to. This is never be a jester maxer for women. Now, this idea of maxing is this like kind of incel type term where a lot of these really desperate men, they feel the need, they buy into all these excuses that this like red pill community pushes forward, that they are horribly inadequate, they'll never get a woman, they're just blatantly inferior to other men, they're not tall enough, they're not rich enough, they don't have enough status. So maxing is where you increase those things, right? Like looksmaxxing is where you like increase your looks, you have the maximum, like you reach your maximum potential of your physical looks. Height maxing, I forget what the one for money is. Wealth maxing, wage maxing, I don't know. It's all dumb stuff. It's all ridiculous. So let's see what this guy has to say about Jestermaxxing. I watched a video before on this topic and it interested me because I think what would be the most beneficial for any guy in dating would be being as funny as possible. So let's hear about why that's somehow a bad thing.
Are addicted to Instagram and TikTok because it is the easiest and lowest barrier to entry way to keep men at an arm's length, but still at the same time soak up all of that Jestermaxxing, soak up all of that attention, get compliments from guys, while still being a million miles away from all of them. Because women want to stay away from these men, but they're more than happy to soak up the Jestermaxxing. That is why. Okay guys, and welcome back to another video on Honest Waffles. And today, I'm going to be talking about a massive problem that so many guys have when they're interacting with women.
So, the other video I watched on this topic, it basically talked about being like a class clown, which is weird, because that's not funny. Like, that's being, I guess, literally a jester, like making yourself into an actual clown. But clowns aren't funny to adults. They aren't funny to adult women. Why would you do that? Well, like, just actually be fun and lighthearted and funny. That's easy. It's a skill you can actually improve and will pay off enormously. Like, explain this to me. Explain why Pete Davidson, who's only had like a couple movie roles, who's a comedian, I've never seen one of his specials. I don't know if the guy's actually funny. I assume he's kind of funny. But the guy was dating Kim Kardashian. Like, as she was getting like divorced from Kanye. Think about that. Think about how crazy that is. Like, a billionaire woman who's like one of the most famous people on the planet, and this like goofball, barely known comedian is dating her in a serious way. How does he do that? I don't know. Probably because he's just lighthearted and fun and makes her laugh. The really basic recipe that men have been talking about for centuries. This isn't like these guys overcomplicate this stuff to the extreme, and it's not that complicated.
And that problem is, to cut to the chase, Jestermaxxing. This is perhaps the biggest issue, the biggest time sink that modern men have today.
What? How is it the biggest time sink? Like, are they going to clown college? Like, literally, they're enrolling in clown college? What is he talking about? I
interacting with women, and women love a good Jestermaxxer. Women absolutely soak up the attention that Jestermaxxers provide, and they love having them as part of their life. And just for the small group of people watching this who aren't familiar of what Jestermaxxing is, I'll give the quick breakdown. So Jestermaxxing, I have a very broad definition of what Jestermaxxing is pretty much any scenario that you as a guy find yourself in where you are wasting time with a woman. You are having pointless conversations.
What? So the Jestermaxxing doesn't even involve failed attempts at being funny? What? How is it Jestermaxxing then? You're not trying to be as funny as possible, and you're not even trying to be like a clown or a class clown, or how is it Jestermaxxing? The term makes no sense then. You're just talking about basic simping. How is basic simping improving yourself in any way? How is it? How does the term Jestermaxxing apply here in any kind of way?
Pointless interactions. You've been in the friend zone for months. All of this constitutes Jestermaxxing. I know, a very broad definition, and the way that I like to pinpoint whether you as a man would know if you are Jestermaxxing or not is if you have any inclination, if you go to the deepest thought in your gut of thinking whether you are Jestermaxxing or not, if it's even 1% there, then you probably are Jestermaxxing for a woman. You're wasting your time because you know deep down, because every guy likes to delude.
So it's like an ironic term. It's like a sarcastic term. They're maxing themselves being a jackass, a jester, by being like the biggest simp that they can be. Interesting. I don't know if I agree. We're only 2 minutes into this video, and it's a long one, so I'll probably break this one into parts because I feel like I'm going to have a lot to say. Simping isn't good, right? Like, one of my first videos I did was reacting to this guy where it's like, I'm 36 and have never had a girlfriend. And that guy was simping like a lunatic. He was building this delusional fantasy world where him and this girl were in love. Meanwhile, the whole time she has a boyfriend, her and this guy never had like an actual close friendship other than she complained about her boyfriend to him on occasion. They never like flirted or hooked up. There was no attraction there from her part towards him. Like, that's not what you want to be doing. You don't want to be like horrifically in the friend zone. But you can be in the friend zone. You need to be what's called the mutual friend zone, where she's friend zoning you and you're friend zoning her. It's also known as being friends, right? Like, you just don't care if you date each other. Just do that. Just do that. Even with a woman, even if you're already in the friend zone, just stop the simping, be a friend, which means don't do favors for her unless she's doing favors for you. Don't have it be this like crazy one-sided friendship. Actually have standards for who you're friends with. Have it like, you need to have, no matter what kind of relationship it is in your life, whether romantic, friendship, even family members, it needs to be like a back and forth. It needs to be like a mutually beneficial thing. Otherwise, cut them out of your life. Because why would you want any form of relationship that exists where you're putting in more than you're getting out? Like, that's not good, right? Like, even just that should literally never happen unless it's like your child. Right? You should be giving more to your child than what they're giving you. Other than that, though, never. No, never. But just a basic friendship with a woman is going to be insanely beneficial to you. In so many ways. First of all, she might have some friends you want to date. And you could also do the same thing with her friends. Maybe her friends' friends are some chicks you want to date. Become friends with everybody. That's what like normal guys do, these chads or normies. They just become friends with everybody. They're just friendly, nice people who want to have a good time. And they're not some super intense weirdo. They just are chill and have a good time and have a laugh. And then they get this big network of friends. And it's not even like close friends necessarily. But you get to know a lot of people. And thus you have a lot of options of people to potentially pursue. And having a close friendship with a woman is going to make your pursuing, whether it's somebody like who you kind of know, whether it's a cold open or a warm open, right? Your skills are going to drastically increase because you're going to be so much better at talking to women, so much better at rizzing them up, having basic positive social interactions, which is like kind of a core component of even like having a friendship with a woman, right? If you if you're having negative social interactions with the woman, she's not going to be friends with you. She's not going to be around you, right? So what makes your positive interactions that you're already having with this woman positive? And just cut out the part where you're simping and where it's one-sided. Just treat it fairly, right? If someone ain't doing favors for you, don't do favors for them. It ain't that complicated. It's actually very easy. And you'd be incredibly surprised how effective that can be. Like I've literally set that exact standard where it's like, all right, well, what are you going to do for me? And it's actually like, I got some stories, let me tell you, where it's like, oh, well, women will literally tell men in that scenario where it's like, oh, well, like sometimes they won't say anything. I've had some women where they outright say it, where they're like, oh, I really respect that you like, I asked you for a ride here and you didn't just give it to me. That's like cool. And like, oh, like, sorry. They'll literally apologize and be like, sorry, I was kind of, I was kind of just weirdly expecting you to do me these favors. And like, I like that you aren't just going to do that. And most times they won't say that though, but they'll realize it. They'll internalize it and they'll adjust their behavior, and then they'll start doing you favors, right? Like I've literally had women like go and get me stuff from the store, and just like bring stuff over. Like, oh, well, I remember one time this woman, I told her, hey, I'm not feeling well. I don't want to hang out today. She wanted to hang out. She really wanted to hang out, and so I'm like, well, I'm sick. Like I got a headache. I'm not feeling too well. She's like, oh, I can bring you aspirin. Great. All right, I guess you can do that. And then she was like, I think she had to go get the aspirin or something. And then I messaged her and said, don't do that. Like, actually, don't come over. I'm just gonna go back to sleep. She came over anyway. She just came over. I was literally asleep. All of a sudden, she's just in my room because I was living with my parents at the time. She's just came in, gave me some aspirin, and then we hung out, had a good time. Set some standards and apply those standards. But yeah, like don't just linger in the friend zone and hope something's gonna happen. That will never happen. It won't. What can happen, right? Now this took a total curveball because I don't even, prior to watching this just now, I didn't even know what Jestermaxxing was. But guys, if you're in the friend zone, you're deep in the friend zone, get out, start pulling away, right? Because she's gonna not want you to pull away because you're such a great friend. Pull away. You have to. You have to. I guarantee you there will be positive benefits from it. Absolutely. Now, granted, you have to understand, you're not going to end up in a relationship with this person. That's not a realistic outcome that will ever happen, right? The only way that can happen is if you just kind of pull away and you pull completely away. And then you like don't talk to each other for like several years. And then you run into each other and then you approach it from a more direct, like, I want to date you. There's no us being friends again. We're dating. Like, come over and we're going to Netflix and chill, right? I mean, don't say we're going to Netflix and chill. Use different words, but basically say, have you seen the show Wednesday? Hey, come over and watch it. Boom. But you have to understand, if you're on a more shorter term where you're like pulling away and she's kind of like moving towards you, what the likely outcome of that is not going to be a relationship. What's likely to happen is you're gonna have sex. you're gonna hook up once or twice, and then it's just you're gonna basically never you're not gonna be friends anymore, because it just creates this like weird dynamic. It creates this weird thing where it's like, all right, well, like, we hooked up, but we don't actually want to, like, the person doesn't actually want to date you, so they're not going to date you. But you hook up, everything gets weird, and they're like, no, you just aren't friends anymore, because ultimately, if you're in the friend zone, it's because you put yourself there, right? It's because you do not want to be friends with this person. You only want a relationship with them. Now, you're not going to get that. Like it's there's almost no chance you'll ever get that, so you need to like get that out of your mind completely, permanently. Get it right out of there. Now what you need to do is damage control. How can you get the most out of this situation, right? Your one-itis or whatever. Would you rather, no matter what the outcome is, you're not going to be in each other's life. Almost guaranteed. Right? That's going to happen at some point. That's the outcome of the friend zone each and every time. So, would you rather the outcome where you just got shot down again and again, and then it eventually became too much, and you never even like kissed or hooked up, or do you want the other outcome where at least you hooked up a couple times before you never saw each other again? I don't know. To me, that sounds a bit better. But that's where I'll break off part 1 and we'll start part 2. Or hopefully we get a little more into the details of what the heck Jestermaxxing even is.